I took a look at my credit card statement the other day, and the amount of interest that it has accrued is not good. Like over $200 just this month. So I thought I'm going to take more time to try and figure out 5 unique ways to save money. Stay tuned until the end because I have big news. Number 1, ask for the Save team. Any internet cable service provider, at least here in Canada, will have a Save or loyalty team. Basically, their whole existence is to try to give good deals and retain customers so that the bottom line looks as good as it possibly can. So they are absolutely approved ahead of time to give really special deals, things that the average salesperson would not be able to. But the Save team has all those special codes, things that have expired, that kind of thing. A lot of times they will have the power to grandfather somebody in with a particular deal that they had before, which is always nice. And even if you have to wait on hold for half an hour, it might save you $30 to $50 a month. So it's worth it. I don't think it'll save more than that, but it can get pretty darn close. Always ask for the Save team. Number 2, deep clean your deep freeze and fridge freezer. The deep freeze can get inches and inches and inches of that snowy looking ice. And when that happens, the deep freeze becomes less efficient and has to work harder to keep things cool. When you have too much inside, if it's too full, then it has to work just that much harder to keep everything cool. Every time you open the top, depending on how large it is, but if you have to, usually they turn up. So if you have to open the top, you release that cool air and a bunch of warm air rushes in, which means it then has to spend that much more time cooling everything down again once you close the lid. And since it's something that you're likely going to access at least once a week, you could do yourself a big favor by only keeping it about half full if at all possible. In the fridge and freezer combo, whether it's up top or the drawer style, you are better off to regularly clean it, wipe down the shelves, and throw out food that is starting to expire. The reason for this is because the more your fridge has to keep cool, and the freezer as well, the harder it has to work. And the more that's in there, the worse it gets. So for instance, if you've ever noticed that you have a bunch of stuff sitting at the back of the fridge and very little sitting up front, but everything at the back freezes, it's because that air can't circulate inside. And so it just freezes everything in the back, which is really bad, really costly, and can really damage your food, which you don't want because food is really expensive, especially in this country. Number 3, scrape your plates. It sounds a little weird, but stay with me. If you are one of those people who frequently leaves your plates with dried food on it, especially the kind of stuff that sticks really well, like cheese. Cheese is so bad, especially when it's dried or baked on or caked on, especially if you had to use a microwave. The dishwasher can struggle to clean it off. To save money, if you scrape your plates as soon as you're done eating, then you will not have to risk having to wash those dishes a second time when the dishwasher inevitably doesn't do the job right the first time, and or hand washing it. Anyone who has a dishwasher should know by now, and if they don't, I will tell you, that dishwashers, especially within the last 5 to 10 years, are so much more efficient with water use than if you hand wash your dishes. It's better for the environment, which sounds crazy, but it's true if you actually use your dishwasher. So please do it if you can. Number 4, find a way to compost. Now, this can be tough if you're an apartment dweller like I am. I don't want to compost my plants. They smell bad and they wouldn't be outside. Well, not my plants, but the food, if I were to put it in there. It would start to smell bad and I would be voted most unpopular immediately. And so what I do is someone in my family has one of those plastic tubs that you can get from the dollar store. Actually, she has a number of the tubs. They're no bigger than your average water jug, and she keeps a number of them in her front entrance. So every time we come over, we grab a new one and we trade her for the old one. So we put in coffee grounds, we put in eggs, we put in anything. I rinse out the eggs just because I know they can smell after a while. And since they're not being refrigerated or stored in the garbage, I will constantly be opening that container and pouring more coffee in. Coffee is great for eliminating odor, but when it comes to natural food, there's only so much work coffee can do. So if you can come up with some sort of system with someone who does have a yard or loves plants or has one of those composting bins in their backyard or a worm composting bin or has a composting schedule or program through their city, we have that, but they decided not to allow any of us downtown dwellers to use it because there's too many food-based businesses and they didn't want the food-based businesses to be able to, send this for free with their trucks, the city trucks. So unfortunately, that means that we get left out just because they just didn't think it was important enough. Thankfully, I have this other option because I looked for it. If I didn't want it, or if it stopped working because they moved or had to go into long-term care or anything like that, then I would find another way to do it because it's better for your garbage, which sounds weird, but if you're not putting organic food, and I don't mean organic food that you buy from the organic section of the grocery store, I mean just actual food that breaks down into your garbage, then it doesn't have that awful broken down food smell. And so you're less likely to need to swap out the garbage bag, which means you're buying less garbage bags. And your composting is also just really good when you're trying to grow food. So if anyone is looking for compost, then that's a great place to start. Number 5, declutter. This probably sounds a little counterintuitive because a lot of decluttering could end in throwing things out. And compared to my example with the garbage bag just now, that might not help. But a lot of things can be donated. You'll be surprised what people will buy on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji or eBay or any of the other places where you can put stuff up for sale. Now, decluttering inside the house, mostly where I'm coming from when it comes to that is the less stuff you have inside, the less your heating and cooling system has to heat and cool that stuff. Everything has a temperature to it, and if you want your heating and cooling to be as efficient as possible, then you should have less stuff. It seems silly, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Okay, that's all I've got for the top 5. Now I'm going to share my big news. I'm happy to report that for the first time in my life, I went to my boss and I explained why I need a raise. My 90-day review is next week, and he not only agreed that I provide an intense amount of value to my current company, but that I am worth the raise because my resume is really quite unique and they need my skills. So I am getting a $5 an hour raise. Huge number. There's a little bit of a caveat to it. Well, there is and there isn't. The problem is tax. I'll be moved up to the next tax bracket, which means I'm going to lose a whole bunch more to tax. I don't know what that number is going to be because I will also qualify for benefits, which means the pension and the healthcare and dental and all of that will start being knocked off my checks as well. So it's kind of a double ding of, yay, I got a raise, but then I also have to start paying for things that I haven't been paying for the last 3 months. I still think it's a net positive, and I'm actually quite excited to see what my first check will be. The new money also comes with a new position. So some of the things that I needed to do before that in a way were causing me to spend more money by putting me in a bad position, as in putting me in a store that I love, whether I had the boss's credit card or not, I also carried my credit card with me, so it ended up being really destructive. I think this is going to be good. I think this is really going to help. Eventually, I will dive directly into the numbers to give everyone an idea on what it is that I owe. I know I kind of mentioned it in a couple of videos before, but it's just not quite enough. So I cannot wait to see what my new checks look like. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.